Hi, morning, Bill. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Chris.
I'm really quite looking forward to this one because everyone will say they know you, but I would argue that hardly anyone knows you or knows your true story anyway, because you grew up in Edinburgh. Your brothers went down the mines, if I remember rightly, and you took a different choice. Is that fair? It was a bit more blunter in those days, wasn't it, as a choice? Harsher.
It was definitely harsher, but you're almost right. But I was born in a place called Armadale, but we lived in a place called Batty, which was equidistant from Glasgow and Edinburgh. And although I worked in Edinburgh, but you're right. I'm one of 5 boys, and my father and 2 elders, were down in the pit, and he got me a job with like the other 2 down the pit, and that was not going to happen, and as you well know. So yeah, that was an interesting little journey. But how I came into hospitality, a hotel local to us called the Bridge Castle Hotel, out in the sticks. I was on my bike, kept on passing this hotel. I was desperate to go in. I was 14, 15 at the time, just to ask for a job. And eventually, and I'm talking weeks, perhaps even months, not having the goal to go in, but I did eventually. And asked for a job, and I got a job washing dishes. And then I was exposed to the fun, the pleasures, and the excitement of hospitality, and I absolutely loved it. And that seemed to me to be a better alternative than joining my brothers down the pit.
And you became a chef, is that fair? And you joined then Royal Bank of Scotland, if I remember rightly?
Yep, well, I became a chef. And again, like Bridge Castle, sent me on an apprenticeship program. So I did day release.
Yep.
And I absolutely loved that. And so I ended up doing 5 City and Guilds, OND, HCMIA, fellow of the HCIMA, and just equipped myself, studied wine. I equipped myself to be part of the hospitality industry, really. But I mean, I was chef first and foremost, and I loved it. It was just great fun. I was good at it, and I enjoyed the challenge of it all. And then I did my apprenticeship at Bridge Castle, and then moved to Edinburgh.
Where you joined Gardner Merchants?
Well, no. Before that, I worked in it's still one of our favourite restaurants today. The owner of Bridge Castle bought a restaurant called Champney Inn, which sits outside Edinburgh, quite near Lithgow. And whilst I was studying full time at college, I got, again as a chef, a job at Champney. And during this process, I worked with a chef called Bernard Farrow, and he got me a job in France. So I left the UK to go and work for the Hotel Frontel Group in France. So I was there for 2 years. So I was in Lyon, Montpellier, Toulouse, and La Grande Motte.
And did you speak French? Do you speak French?
I did, but not anymore. I mean, it's kind of gone. When I was working with Sodexo, it comes back quickly, and you can have, like little conversations, but not business conversations. If I applied myself to it, then probably I could get it back. But no, we had a great time, and of course, my now wife, Suzanne, and I, whilst at Champney, she was the boss's secretary. And we started going out. I buggered off to France, and then I phoned her and said, "Oh, I'm having a ball over here. Why don't you come over and I'll get you a job?" But she did. She was
quite a leap.
She was the breakfast waitress, and hated every second of it. And we just had a ball, moved around France, and then we came back. I was offered a job by the same Bernard Faro as a sous chef in the Royal in Durban. And I was really excited about that. Suzanne less so. And we were married then at the time. And she applied to Gardner Merchant for a chef manager's job in the Royal Bank of Scotland in Princes Street. And I remember saying, "Oh, I've got you an interview." I said, "You've got me an interview? I don't need a job. I've got a job." And she told me that she wasn't going to be going to South Africa. And then I went for the interview and got the job, and again changed my life. This was a Monday to Friday, 8 o'clock to 3:30. It was like a part-time job when you come out of hotels. And I loved that too. You know, I loved the chefing side of it because it was a chef manager role, and then concentrating on the managerial side, all of the bookwork, having a bigger team. And yeah, that started my journey with Trust House 40 Gardner Merchant.
But the real change for you came, because you became managing director of Scotland at quite a young age, if I remember rightly. But the real change is when you came to London.
Yeah. Listen, I mean, here was a company who invested in me and provided a career path that I didn't even think about when I was that age, you know, young 20s. And were telling me that I could do so much more, and then sent me on various training programs, which I loved, and prepared me to be a young executive. You know, I went to Henley, I went to Ashridge, all of the internal courses, and I became a managing director. Well, the job for Scotland was split into two. So there was two regional director jobs. I was regional director, and I wanted to become managing director of both. That was my ambition at the time. And I thought I'd worked hard and prepared myself for that job. And then I was summoned to London. I thought, oh, you know, this is it, you know, big day. And it was Mike Bailey at the time. He said, "We have a managing director's role, Bill. You've prepared yourself for it. We're really excited." And I thought, oh, fantastic. And they said, "We want you to take over London." I said, "London? No. I don't want to move to London. I'll be very happy staying in Scotland, thank you very much. And I would like to be managing director of Scotland." No, that's not going to happen quite yet. We want you to be managing director of London. And I didn't see it coming at all. And it actually scared me. I thought, no, I can't do this. You know, I can't. But then in those days, I think that was a Wednesday, they bought my house on the Friday and I was in London on the Monday. But Suzanne wasn't too happy at the time, I have to say.
Still not as far south as Durban, though.
Wasn't too happy at the time, but you know, we moved lock, stock, and barrel with the family, and I loved it too. It was London was then a fantastic challenge. It was Gardner Merchant. It was part of Trust House 40. We also had director's table, and the challenge was to fix the positioning strategy of Gardner Merchant and director's table in London, and then the patch grew to running the south and then running all of B&I. So I just kept on growing with Gardner Merchant, Trust House 40 at the time, and you know, they provided a roadmap and the education and the career opportunities, being part of a big conglomerate, which I embraced and loved.
It's a bit deeper than that, isn't it? Because you did take the market by storm with the Gary Rose restaurants, which hadn't been done before. And that was, I still remember when the first one opened, that just took everyone by shock. It must have been quite a risk.
Oh. We were kids, when I think back, sadly we've lost Gary, and I was devastated at his passing, and he went to see Jenny and the boys. Oh, that was tragic. But at the time, he was in the greenhouse, and the greenhouse was one of our haunts. And I got to meet Gary, and it was an interesting one actually, because I had lunch with now Sir Gary Hawkes and David Levin, who owned the greenhouse. And I thought David was rather unkind about Gary and appearing on television and doing silly things. Anyway, I made it a point to meet him and spent several months encouraging him to move. And that was a huge challenge. It wasn't 5 minutes. It took a long, long time. And then fortunately in the Merchant Centre, which was our head office, we had an area I turned into a restaurant, or had the opportunity to do it, but it needed, to open up a new restaurant, it needed a name. Anyway, I got Gary to the venue and said, look, we could call it, this could be yours. We'll design it together, we'll open it, it became a journey anyway. He decided to join us, and that was hugely successful. We did 5 restaurants with Gary up and down the country, and that was great fun. And you're right. I mean, it transformed our position in the marketplace, because again, I was a chef. I'm a hotel chef. Contract catering was always poo-pooed, but we worked as hard. The food was just as innovative. We had the budgets and the ability to do clever things. And Gary concentrated on his TV world whilst working with us, because we had the infrastructure to capitalize on everything he was fabulous at. And we had a team around him to make sure the restaurants were successful. So we got in City Roads and in Dolphin Square.
But it set you aside as well, didn't it, in the market?
Yeah.
Because until that time, nothing like that had ever been even thought of, hardly.
But again, though, I was thinking about it as I was trained to do from a business perspective. When you look at not just opening up the restaurant, but the marketing coverage, the repositioning, the strategic repositioning, having Gary Rhodes as part of the team, opening up those restaurants strategically. I think we analysed the coverage we got. If we had to pay for that coverage, it would have been 6 figures, multiplied by how many? Because it was in every newspaper, every article. Everybody came to see him, everybody. It was a fantastic opportunity for both of us. We were, 30 something, both of us, and we went on a journey. And then
that doesn't happen I mean, that's the point, isn't it? Because you wouldn't appoint an MD now at the same age, would you? And give them as much chance as you were given.
Listen, it's terrible. Sometimes I'm thinking, when I'm looking at MDs, and then you're thinking, how old are you? And then of course, I didn't think it at the time. I didn't think I'm too young. It was more the challenge and the opportunity. When Gary and I were together, we never ever once felt we were too young for the opportunity or the challenge. You just got on with it. But on reflection, we were kids. But, given by dint of the organisation, Gardner Merchant was a huge business, and being part of Trust House 40 was huge. And this was exciting for the group and for us, and we just made it work. We pulled together a great team.
And then you took the market by surprise by your move to Armark.
Yes. I was 20 years, man and boy really, with Gardner Merchant and Trust House 40, and I loved, and I'm saying loved, working for Gary Hawkes, who's now Sir Gary Hawkes. And I loved his commitment, his passion, his dedication to training, to development, to retaining good people. And when he retired, everything changed, and I didn't feel as engaged or as enthusiastic as I once did, and I knew there was something wrong. So when I was approached by Armark, albeit to take over a smaller business, I mean, at that time I was running a 600 million business and industry segment within the company, and Armark was 120 million. I kind of thought, no, it's too small. But when I got thinking about the opportunity to rebuild something and put your own stamp on it and capitalize on all of those learnings, I got excited about it. And again, it was a private loan business. I met all of the senior executives, and they persuaded me, which was difficult, to move, and I did. And again, loved that journey. It was great fun.
Well, it was a hell of a 5 years, which you took it to 400 million turnover.
Yeah. Again, they were super excited through focused organic growth and strategic acquisitions. We got it to 400 million, and the world was our oyster. We had big groups, Barclays. I think at the time we had the, God, it's been right in my head. Anyway, it'll come back to me. But yeah, we had a formidable team who were excited, collaborative, and we all enjoyed it. It was just great fun. So yeah, and the acquisitions all worked extraordinarily well, and then we got it to 400 million, and we were all very proud of that achievement.
But then you shot the market again by going into retirement for 5 years.
Oh gosh, yes. Well, again, I mean, people leave people, they don't leave companies. And we had a new international director that didn't understand our business, and that I found that quite difficult. But that it was more, my best mate, sadly got cancer and died, and that. Listen, I mean, we all go through it, but that was unforeseen, and it took me by, it shocked me. And of course, in Armark, I mean, we got the business, but Armark, being part of a private company, did an IPO, and because I was a senior exec and had lots of shares, and when the company did its float, we all did very well out of that, and thank them for that fantastic opportunity. And then, because I could, I did. I needed time off. I'd worked my socks off for a long time. You don't really, when you're when you're young, fit and able, you just go on with it. Life's fabulous.
Yeah, but you really switched off, didn't you? I mean, I still remember a phone call to you on a golf course. And you talked about something, and you just turned around and said, "I really don't care."
Yeah,
no. You really did switch off for 5 years.
Yeah, no, I did. I mean, I had to make that change. And listen, I loved that because at the time, my kids were at university. We got them through university. We got them set up to do their masters. My son went to Spain to do his masters. My daughter went to Edinburgh to do hers. My son went to become a barrister. So I had the opportunity of really spending and making up for the time I lost with the kids when they were younger. So I loved that window, and yeah, it was, and I'm blessed that I was able to do it. It was great.
So what brought you out of retirement?
Oh God! Well, the kids no longer needed me; they had moved on. They weren't the least bit interested. They had their own lives, and it's a funny one actually, because I think I was in Portugal playing golf, and Jerry Brand was there, and Jenny had over the years had constantly pestered me about, merging with him, setting something up, all of that stuff, and which I never did. But then he said to me, he said, "Remember Andrew Scott?" I said, "Yeah, I know someone called Andrew Scott. Yeah, he's my sales director. Would you mind mentoring him?" I said, "No," I said, "It must be a different Andrew Scott." But of course, when you leave, the world stops and stands still. And of course, Andrew then was, older, married, children, and you forget. It's, oh my God, you've grown up. So Andrew worked for me in Gardner Merchant, and he worked for me in Armark. And he came to Scotland, and we just chatted about him, his career, his business. What do we need to do? And he came with a couple of proposals that he'd been working on. And so I'm going through these proposals. I said, oh my God, this is not good. Oh, and of course, I hope Jerry Brand doesn't listen to this, because it was all about Jerry Brand. It was nothing to do with the client or the catering or food or whatever. So that needed all to be fixed. So then Jerry said, look, mentor him or become chairman, do what you want. And I did, I started, and then I realized how much I missed it. I was re-engaged. I wanted to fix it. I wanted to work with Andrew, and then Deborah Homshaw was operations. Then I was back engaged, and that was it. I just was desperate to fix this, which we did.
And in 9 years, you then built a £500 million business from a 14 million start.
Well, fortunately, I had a lot of experience under my belt. and again, you surround yourself with great people. I mean, Andrew was the sales director, Deborah was the operations director, and again, we were 15 million turnover, so it wasn't huge by any manner of means. So it was a small business. We brought in Madeline Musselwhite, who to be the finance director and M&A. She was akin to M&A. I wouldn't go as far to say an expert at the time, but she had the skills we needed. And we just went on and, we fixed the business, we got our cash position right, our profitability right, our retention significantly improved, we were selling more effectively, our organic growth was back on track, and then we acquired some nice businesses to build into the portfolio. We had some nicer, more prestigious contracts to sell from, and that set us off on a journey. And sometimes Madeline and I would be working on something and say, this is going to take us over 500 million now. And you think, how did all this happen? But it did. And we went on a journey along with, listen, you need banks, you need people, you need investors, and all of the stars aligned, and we got it pre-COVID to over 500 million, which we were extraordinarily proud of. And again, without talent, team, and commitment, that would never have happened.
And how have you changed during that journey over the last 20 years?
Apart from getting older.
Apart from getting older.
How have I changed? I don't know. I mean, I feel the same. I get up, I'm energized, I love what I do, and I'm blessed that I love my job, and I'm I learned this from Gary Hopps, actually. Surround yourself with people brighter than you are, and they'll drag you to success. And that's what I do. That's my secret, I employ the best I can afford and equip them to drag me to success.
Oh, you've been very modest. Because one of the interesting things about you, there's quite a number of people who you have sacked in your past and you've re-employed later. I mean, you are quite forgiving or see the best in people at times as well.
Well, yeah. I mean, sometimes it's circumstances. I've had to let people go for the right reasons at the time. And sometimes it was through no fault of their own, or they just cocked up, really, just made a mistake. And we all grew up, we all learn, I've made mistakes. I don't have any conscience. I pride myself in being able to sleep at night. And if my job is to protect the business, team's employment, shareholders' investment, then that's exactly what I'm going to do. So if someone steps out of line, And you've got to be careful. I mean, there is the saying, one bad apple. You have to remove bad apples. And sometimes it's not even their fault, but if there's a bad apple, like you've got to focus on the rest of the team who are working extraordinarily hard, managed and motivated to the greater good. And you can't have that diluted or you can't carry someone who's not participating in with everybody else's work ethic and dedication.
So what's your inspiration? Because you have been incredibly driven over those last 30 years, haven't you?
It's a hard one, like poor boy made good. I remember going through my psychological assessment with Armark, and again they did all these tests and things to why I have these entrepreneurial skills and what drives me and what motivates me, and first and foremost, I'm blessed to have a happy marriage. We've just been married 39 years, 2 beautiful kids, 7 grandkids, and we have that happy unit, which I'm very proud of. But I remember saying to them, I'm one of 5 boys, so why is it? Why is it I've got this drive and dedication and work ethic, and none of my 4 brothers have? They said, "Oh, we can't possibly answer that question. We would have to interview them as well." Okay, well, that's not going to happen. But one of the things they did say is I was the middle. And apparently, for all of us who are middle child, you instinctively learn to manage upwards and downwards. I said, "Oh, that's interesting." "Oh, yeah. I mean, like middle children have to cope with and deal with the 2 elders. And that brings a skill, and that you've got to then be supportive and manage and protect the 2 younger." And when it's said out loud, it resonated. I thought, God, there's so many occasions when I would be protecting the other 2, and the other 2 were the 2 elder ones were just a pain in the arse, really. But it's family.
But it's a bit deeper. I mean, it does explain a lot. But even when they do M&A stuff, you always make sure that you honour the deals as best you can, don't you?
Yeah,
you always go the extra mile than most people do.
I treat people how I would like to be treated. Founders deserve the God-given right, if they choose, to move on and become part of the team. So you've got to take them on a journey. You've got to talk through all of the implications. It never comes down to money. It's about protecting the business or protecting the brand or appreciating what they have created, and if it's an exit, providing a seamless exit strategy, because founders as well they've created something with the help of and dedication of a team of people, and they want those individuals protected, recognized, and so I can put myself easily in someone's shoes to say, well, if this was mine, how would I want to be treated? And what do I need to do to protect my team? And how is it going to fit in? So you've just got to think it all through and do the right thing. And if you do that, it's a win-win.
But it must be remarkably difficult, because you're growing a £500 million business, trying to protect these people's legacies. I mean, that's got to be a conflict constantly.
Well, yes, there is a conflict all of the time. But then I remember when we did Harbour & Jones, fabulous business, fantastic founders, and the business, and this is the interesting thing, the business and consultants were asking, well, who are you now? Are you Harbour & Jones, or are you Charlton House, or are you Cater Masters? Who are you? And of course, to some extent, that became our market challenge. How do we reposition ourselves to protect our client business and protect our people and provide them with career opportunities and all of the benefits this wonderful industry has? So we, principal shareholders, went on a journey we brought in specialists to say, well, here we all are, and this is the noise internally. We took internal research, and we spoke to clients, and then we went on a journey where collectively, in consultation, we rebranded.
But that's comes to contradiction, isn't it?
With that.
But that's the contradiction, because everyone will talk about you, but actually you always talk about team.
Yeah. But I mean,
because people don't see that part of you, that actually you're looking at a different picture to everybody else's.
It has to. I can't do anything without the team, and that was a unique collaborative journey with emotional founders. And at the end of that journey, it was unanimous that it was the right thing to do for the business, and we rebranded. But then we're still working with the same people. We still have the same clients. You know, I remember, just to share, we had a brand for delivery halls called Chester Boyd, and everyone said, "Oh my God, we can't possibly do anything with it." But I just spoke to all of the key clients and said, "We're going through this journey, and advice is we should leave delivery halls with this wonderful brand which you've all signed up to, but we're being advised that it could be CH&Co livery, and of course the CH&Co name brand comes with the royal warrant, and there's an opportunity for us to be unique. But believe me, you know, like if clients say we still want this brand, that's exactly what will happen." And clients then say, no, we would much prefer to be part of CH&Co and have the royal warrant, thank you very much. And if someone says, well, there's another thing, you'll remember because you helped me with one of our first acquisitions called Couture, remember? And in Couture, we had a very demanding client in Elstree Studios who told me, "If you ever change the name, I'm just going to terminate you. I'm telling you that now." I said, "That will never happen. You will always be Couture." Anyway, we went on this journey, and I remember we were going through the same thing. And Roger, just to let you know, you're going to stay as Couture. However, the rebranding is going to allow us to do X, Y, and Z, and be CH&Co, and we're very proud to be the only contract caterer with the royal warrant. He said, no, I like the sound of that, just change it. Because somebody phones and said, "Who's your caterer?" and they say, "We have Couture." So I've never heard of them. It's much easier to say, "We have the Queen's caterer." So listen, it's a journey for all of us, clients, people, the team, and as long as it's collaborative, then it becomes enjoyable.
So success and failure hit us all. How does it impact on you, or impacted on you?
Oh gosh. Yeah, I love the success of it all. Failure. Well, listen, we all fall, and you know we've all got to get up and brush ourselves down. You know, a failure of mine is spinning too many plates, trying to do it all, and by dint of age, you know, handing someone else the reins can be quite difficult, but when they're ready, you've got to. So I think as we've got bigger and we are surrounded ourselves with more talent, you know, you have to feed that talent. They have to have a roadmap. My job is to retain them, because if you don't, they'll leave and go and satisfy their ambitions and worth somewhere else. So it's been a learning, you know, like hanging on to things was one of my biggest failures. I'll get it done, where now I've learned the hard way of capitalizing on the success, the people, the talent, the ambition, going back to Sir Gary Hawke saying, surround yourself with the cleverest that you can afford and they'll drag you to success. That's true. You know, a great deal of my success is the team I have around me that make me look good. Don't tell it.
And you built 500 million, then a pandemic hit. What was that like?
Oh God, listen. We could go on forever on the pandemic, and I'm not going to, because it was the most challenging experience of my life. I was in this office with Nick, and when it was announced, you go from 500 million to, we didn't know at the time, but it was 30 million, and the business had gone. I mean, it literally had gone. Like so many others in hospitalities, you'll see hotel groups closed, restaurants closed. We're all told to stay at home. It closed. No cash, no business. And so that was 10 years of work went down the pan. And, like all you can do is look at a roadmap out. So refinancing, working with the banks, working with the teams. We had to right size the business. I came in here to sign lots of letters. The tragic thing is how many wonderful people have lost their job because of this pandemic, and that is that. I don't even know if I've got over all of that yet, because I think about it all the time. People who have been loyal, hardworking, committed, because we don't have the volume, because you go from 500 million business to 30. No, I don't need the same amount of people in finance or training or legal or chef trainers. I mean, it was tragic. But the office, there's a lot of people in the office today, and all I'm saying is we survived, we got through it. We need to rebuild. The faster we rebuild, the faster we can bring our colleagues who have been displaced back into work. That's all we can do, and that's our commitment to them. We keep on telling them. We have a Zoom call with the top 300 every 2 weeks, and we share and talk about the journey we're on. And we always say, let's get as many people back in the business working as we possibly can.
Okay, final question. What's been your greatest learning?
My greatest learning.
Or what would you tell your 18-year-old self? Maybe another way of putting it.
Oh, that's interesting. I'll tell you what I tell my son, really, because he runs his own business. And before it all, when we were analysing it, and as you do a business plan. How many clients does he need? What does he need to charge? How does he balance the book? How does he pay his mortgage? All of that stuff. And apart from treating everyone how you would like to be treated yourself, and that's my mantra, really. I mean, I'm really quite passionate about that. My guidance to him has always been, work ethic, honesty, loyalty, and just getting the best out of circumstances. You can't go from 12 million to 500 million without a journey. It's getting the best out of the people you work with and trying to make them enjoy that process and that journey, so that when you come into the office, it's fun. It's just a nice
place. People don't talk about fun anymore, do they? I mean, that's the bit we need to get back into work, isn't it?
It's listen, we're encouraging people to come back. We want to provide sandwiches or fruit or tea or coffee. And if people have got the option of staying at home and avoiding the commute, and that's our God-given right at the minute, they will. But if they're looking forward to coming into an environment where you want to have fun, I mean, like normal stuff, talking to your colleagues, what was your weekend, what did you do, just stuff that we as human beings need to do. Can you help me with this? I shouldn't really tell you this story, but I've got this other screen here and I couldn't get the whole Zoom thing to work. But Pat was in, the IT guy, saying, Pat, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's happening. And this is what he did. He took the clip off. He said, and I went, oh, I didn't know. And it's like, so, otherwise I'd have been at home saying, I don't know what's went wrong. So it's work, it's stuff, and yeah, I mean, we all miss it. So I remain hopeful that London will open up, which represents 25% of our GDP. We'll get the economy back up and running. And although those in work will have to somehow support the country with taxes and commitment, we'll get through it. We went to the Ivy in Cobham for our anniversary. It was outside and everybody was having a great time. And you think, yeah, this is what we want. I am meeting someone at South Bank tonight for a drink. It's a business drink, but we can because it's outside. Things are getting back to normal, and it's our job as business leaders to create an environment where people want to work and working with clients to help them become successful whilst we're becoming successful, and just enjoy the journey.
Bill, thanks very much for your time today.
Thoroughly enjoyed it. Nice seeing you again.